Hey everybody, it's Sunday. I'm Bob. So you guessed it, it's another edition of Bob's Smokin' Sunday, and guess what? Today is our 12th episode and probably the last one we're going to do this season on a regular basis. So we'll be coming back in the spring with more new recipes, more fun things to smoke, a variety of different things. So we're going to interact with you on Facebook and through YouTube. So stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're liking the page. So that's going to be fun. But today on Bob's Smokin' Sunday, we are going to be doing beef brisket, the coup de grace of barbecue. So we're going to do it Texas style with a little salt, pepper, and a little garlic and a little onion powder is our seasoning. That's it. And then we are going to get it on the ugly drum smoker. And we're going to do a variation of Myron Nixon's hot and fast cook. He cooks around 300 degrees for about 2.5 hours. He wraps it, and then he lets it go for another 1.5 to 2 hours. So generally his briskets are done in about 4 to 5 hours, and then they rest for about 4 hours. We're going to probably cook about 300 at the beginning, and probably get it down to 275 to 250 after we wrap to help the fat render. So let's take you inside, show you what we did with the trimming and the seasoning, and then we will, once those get up to room temperature, we'll get them out here on the pit. Ooh. Set it down. We're going to try and keep one hand wet and one hand dry. Dry hand's going to be the one that I'm using with the knife. And so we're going to try and trim this brisket. So basically, and I'm not an expert at trimming a brisket, but you want to try and get the fat down as much as you can. Over here you've got this real hard fat. You want to make sure you trim most of that out. We'll get rid of some of this fat that's on the top here, some of this silver skin that's over here, and then we'll flip it over and get the fat cap underneath trimmed down to about 1/4 of an inch. So in the brisket, there are two parts of the brisket. There is the flat, which is this part here, and you can see the grain is running this way. And then there is the decal, or the point, and you might be able to see the grain here is running this way, and it kind of goes under this, this kind of goes over top, and there's fat between that. So you want to try and get some of that fat out of there between the two sections. We're going to tackle the back side here. You can see there's all this fat in here that we want to get rid of. I'm going to leave some of this fat up in the plate. Like I said, I'm not a master butcher, so hopefully this hack job isn't too bad. We've got our fat cap. This fat cap's pretty thick on this side, fairly thin on this side. So we're going to kind of even that out. We want to kind of get that fat cap to about 1/4 of an inch thick all on the back side. Cap is pretty thin over here underneath the point. So we'll try and get some of this hard fat off of there just to kind of trim it down to 1/4 of an inch. We're fairly uniform across here. We could do some more, but I think that that's going to be good. Alright, so now we're ready to season, and we're just going to do a little SPG, salt, pepper, garlic, and for this mixture I've added a little onion powder on that as well. I've got that in my jar, so we're just going to shake that up. And I just poured that into a measuring cup, and I'm just going to sprinkle that on rather than use a shaker. And we're not going to go too crazy on it. And just rub that all in. That's going to be seasoned, so we're just going to let that sit. We're going to let that get up to close to room temperature before we put it on the smoker. I lied. And then you want to season the fat side as well. Alright, today I am trying a new charcoal. I'm trying the Kingsford Hickory briquettes. So I'm going to use a combination of the hickory briquettes and some lump charcoal, but I'm lighting about a half of a small chimney with these hickory briquettes. So we'll give those about 15 minutes or so they can get nice and lit. So in my charcoal basket I am using some of the Kingsford Hickory briquettes as well as some of the Royal Oak lump charcoal, and then I'm using some hickory wood chunks for the smoke flavor. You can see I've got this little chimney that I just got. The little chimney is about half the size of my normal chimney, which is perfect for lighting the small amount of coals that I need to get my drum smoker started. Our coals in our chimney are nice and hot, so we're going to go ahead and get these poured into our charcoal basket. Alright, so now that we've got our briskets on the smoker, we are doing two today. We've got them on the smoker. They are going to sit there for probably a good 2.5 to 3 hours. We're not going to do anything to them. We're not going to look at them. We're not going to talk to them. We want to let the temperature get up to about 150 degrees. I've got a wireless thermometer as well as my Weber app. Monitoring the grill temperature and monitoring each of the briskets. So we're just going to sit back, relax, watch some football, and we'll look at these guys in about 2 to 3 hours. Alright, so our briskets have been on the smoker for 2 hours now at about 155 degrees. So we're going to take them off, we're going to wrap it in foil, and then we're going to put it back on the smoker. So we'll show you that in just a second. We're going to wrap it in foil. I would have liked to get a little more color, but it's got some good color on it right now. And basically that's going to prevent it from taking any more smoke in. And then we'll get this back out on the smoker, and we'll push the temperature probe right through the thick part of the flat. Alright, so we got a notification on our Weber app that our brisket internal temperature was up to 201 degrees. So we are going to go ahead and probe it with our instant read thermometer just to make sure, and then we're going to take it off, wrap it in some towels, and get it put in a cooler to rest for the next 3.5 hours. We've got our read thermometer, and when we poke it in, it should feel like melted butter. It should just slide right in. No, hardly any resistance at all. So we'll put that down. Temperature's reading 204, so looks like we're done. We're going to take it off, get it wrapped in a blanket. And I've got a cooler here that I have taken a couple of towels and just put in the bottom. We're going to take our brisket, just set it in there, and then we're going to take another towel and kind of pack it around the top. And then we're just going to close the lid and let that rest for about 3.5 hours. Alright, let's take a real quick recap of what we did. We took our brisket, we trimmed it. We seasoned it with a little salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. Then we let it sit while we got our smoker ready. In our smoker, we prepared a charcoal basket of a combination of Kingsford hickory briquettes as well as lump charcoal, and we used some hickory chunks for our smoke flavor. We threw our brisket on and we let it sit there for about 2 hours at roughly 300 degrees. When we took it off, the temperature was about 165 degrees internally, and we wrapped it in foil. We put it back out on the smoker and lowered the smoker temp down to about 250 degrees. Temperature internally in our brisket was 201 degrees, so we took it out, we wrapped it in another layer of foil, and we went ahead and stuck that in a cooler. It's been in a cooler for 3.5 hours, so now we're going to slice it, taste test it, and see what we got. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to separate the flat from the point. There's this fat right here. Usually you can just kind of chop down at an angle. And you're basically cutting through the fat. So there is our point. Here is our flat. Now I don't know if you remember, you can see the grain here, but we cut this edge off because the grain runs this way and we want to cut against the grain. And then with our point, the grain runs this way, so we want to make sure we cut sideways. Turn that around. Slightly overdone in the flat. Generally you want it to like hang and you don't want it to tear apart. It's not too bad, and then it just easily pulls apart. Then we'll take a cut of the point here. We'll just kind of cut down the center here. See that? Nice and juicy. That is very, very tender. Now for a taste test. This is our brisket flat. I said it curls pretty well. It pulls apart pretty well. Not too bad. Take a look at the smoke ring there on the top and the bottom. So here's the point. See the smoke ring there. That is very flavorful, pretty juicy. Squeeze it, you can see the juice coming out. So that's been another edition of Bob's Smokin' Sunday. If you like what you see, hit like, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and you know, great barbecue isn't that hard, it just takes a little time. So until next time, until next season, you're watching Bob's Smokin' Sunday, and we'll see you later.